In the modern social landscape, which often feels like a perpetual competition for the loudest voice and the most visible presence, there exists a profound and enduring attraction toward the man who remains remarkably still. This magnetism is not merely a byproduct of mystery or an absence of noise. Rather, it is rooted in a complex architecture of psychological traits that signal a high degree of internal stability and evolutionary fitness. To understand why a quiet man is often perceived as more attractive than his more boisterous counterparts, one must first look past the surface of his silence and examine the cognitive and emotional mechanics that drive his behavior. This attraction is frequently misunderstood by those who mistake silence for weakness or a lack of social skill, yet, for the discerning observer, the quiet man represents a rare form of self mastery that is both rare and deeply compelling. The primary distinction that must be made, and one that is central to the psychological allure of this archetype, is the difference between being quiet and being shy. Shyness is fundamentally an avoidant behavior driven by social anxiety, a fear of judgment, or a lack of confidence in one's ability to navigate interpersonal dynamics. A shy man may want to speak but feels paralyzed by the potential for rejection or embarrassment. His silence is a defensive wall. In contrast, the quiet man's silence is an offensive strategy, or more accurately, a comfortable baseline. Consider the case of a man named Alistair, a landscape architect from the coastal town of Oakhaven. At a bustling professional gathering filled with individuals clamoring to network and self promote, Alistair does not lean against the wall because he is afraid to engage. He stands with an open posture, observing the room with a keen, analytical eye. His silence is a choice, a reflection of his internal processing rather than a symptom of social fragility. Psychologically, this distinction is crucial because it signals a high internal locus of control. While the shy man is controlled by his environment and his fears, the quiet man controls his environment by choosing when and how to leak information about himself. This creates an air of deliberate intent that is significantly more attractive than the reactive nature of shyness. This sense of control extends into the realm of emotional regulation, which is perhaps the most significant psychological trait associated with the attractive quiet man. In moments of high stress or emotional turbulence, the majority of people tend to externalize their internal state, whether through frantic speech, visible agitation, or a desperate need for external validation. The quiet man, however, possesses a robust ability to regulate his nervous system, preventing the amygdala hijack that often leads to impulsive and unattractive outbursts. Imagine a high stakes scenario, such as a navigational crisis during a sailing expedition off the rugged cliffs of the Ironwood Isles. While others might succumb to the panic of the moment, a man like Elias, who embodies this quiet strength, remains the calm in the storm. He does not waste energy on vocalizing his fear. Instead, he uses that cognitive energy to assess the situation and formulate a plan. This emotional steadiness is evolutionarily attractive because it suggests a partner who can provide safety and rational leadership during times of scarcity or danger. It is the manifestation of a regulated ego, one that does not need to project its insecurities onto others to find equilibrium. This trait allows the quiet man to be a stabilizing force in his relationships, offering a sanctuary of peace rather than another source of chaos. Furthermore, the quiet man's attractiveness is bolstered by his approach to initiation, which is characterized by intentionality and decisiveness. In the dating world, there's a common misconception that the man who talks the most is the most alpha or assertive. However, psychological analysis suggests that a man who initiates with precision rather than volume is often perceived as more competent. When a quiet man decides to make a move, whether it is a professional suggestion or a personal invitation, it carries more weight because it is not lost in a sea of trivial chatter. He does not engage in the shotgun approach of social interaction, hoping that something will eventually stick. Instead, his initiation is like a surgical strike. This was evident in the way Silas, a historian from the quiet archives of Belmonte, approached his eventual partner. He did not spend weeks making empty small talk or sending meaningless digital messages. Instead, after observing her interests and character for some time, He made a single, clear, and well timed invitation that reflected a deep understanding of her personality. This decisiveness signals a man who knows what he wants and has the patience to wait for the right moment to claim it, a trait that is fundamentally more attractive than the desperate restlessness of those who feel they must always be doing or saying something to remain relevant. The psychological power of the quiet man is perhaps most evident in his capacity for listening. In a society where most people listen only to formulate their own rebuttal or to find a gap where they can insert their own story, the quiet man listens to understand. He practices what psychologists call active observation and deep listening, which creates a sense of profound psychological safety for the person speaking. When a man truly listens, he validates the existence and the emotions of the other person without the need to center himself in the narrative. This creates an immediate and intense emotional bond. An anecdote from a woman named Clara, who lived in the bustling city of Viridia, illustrates this perfectly. She recalled meeting a man named Julian, who spoke very little during their first few encounters. While other men had spent their dates detailing their resumes and achievements, Julian sat back and asked perhaps 3 or 4 profound questions over the course of an evening. Clara noted that she felt more seen and understood in those few hours than she had in years of dating. Julian's ability to hold space for her without interrupting or judging was a form of intimacy that loud, communicative men often fail to achieve. This trait signals high emotional intelligence and a lack of narcissism, making the quiet man a magnetic figure for those seeking a meaningful connection. This lack of narcissism is tied directly to a deep seated security with oneself and a lack of a need for constant external attention. The quiet man does not require the spotlight to feel valuable. His self worth is generated internally. In psychological terms, he has high self actualization and low social monitoring needs. He is not constantly checking the room to see how people are reacting to him, nor is he performing a persona designed to garner applause. This authenticity is incredibly attractive because it is rare. Most social interactions involve a degree of performance, but the quiet man's refusal to perform suggests that he is comfortable in his own skin. He is the man who can sit at a dinner party and be perfectly content without being the life of the party. He is the man who can walk through the park of Eldermore alone and not feel the need to document his experience for a digital audience. This self security suggests a partner who is not needy or clingy, but rather one who is a whole person unto himself. This independence is a cornerstone of healthy attachment styles, signaling to a potential partner that he is a secure base from which they can both grow. In tandem with this self security is a firm commitment to boundaries and a reciprocal expectation of respect. Because the quiet man is selective with his words and his presence, he implicitly teaches others how to treat him. He does not tolerate disrespect, but he does not need to shout to address it. Often, a simple, steady gaze or a quiet, firm statement of a boundary is more effective than a loud argument. This quiet authority is a sign of a man who respects himself deeply. In professional settings, this is often the man who can silence a room just by leaning forward or clearing his throat, because people have learned that when he does speak, it is worth hearing. This dynamic creates a scarcity value around his input and his time. If a man is always available and always talking, his presence becomes a commodity. The quiet man, by contrast, is a premium resource. His respect is not given away freely to anyone who demands it. It is earned and exchanged. This creates a balanced power dynamic in relationships where both parties feel the weight and value of the other's presence, leading to a more stable and respectful long-term bond. Beyond the social and emotional spheres, the quiet man often possesses a high degree of comfort with solitude and a selective approach to his social circle. This is not to be confused with being a loner out of necessity. Rather, it is the luxury of being alone by choice. Psychologically, the ability to be alone without being lonely is a hallmark of mental health and creative depth. A man who is comfortable being alone is a man who has explored the inner landscapes of his own mind. He has hobbies, passions, and interests that do not require an audience to be fulfilling. Consider a man like Rowan, who spends his weekends in a remote cabin in the Silverleaf Woods, focusing on woodworking and philosophy. When Rowan does choose to enter a social space, he does so with a sense of overflow rather than deficit. He is not there to take energy from the room or to fill a hole in his soul. He is there because he has found someone or something worth his limited social energy. This selectivity makes his attention feel like a significant compliment to those he chooses to spend it on. It also suggests a man who is not easily swayed by peer pressure or social trends, as his internal compass is more powerful than the external noise of the crowd. The final pillar of the quiet man's attractiveness is his passion and value driven communication. When a quiet man speaks, he does not speak for the sake of filling silence. He speaks from a place of conviction. His words are the tip of the iceberg, representing a vast underwater mass of thought, experience, and value. This leads to a depth of conversation that is often missing in more superficial social interactions. When he expresses a passion for a subject, be it the intricacies of astrophysical phenomena, the nuances of historical trade routes, or his deeply held moral convictions, there is a palpable weight to his words. This intensity is magnetic. It suggests a man of substance who has a why for his life. This value driven nature means that he is often more reliable and consistent than a man who changes his opinions based on the flavor of the week or the consensus of the group. His communication is an investment, and like any good investor, he is careful with where he places his capital. This creates a sense of trust and reliability that is essential for any deep and lasting attraction. Ultimately, the attractiveness of the quiet man is a testament to the power of the internal world over the external mask. In a world obsessed with optics, he focuses on essence. He is a reminder that the loudest drum is often the one that is the most hollow, while the vessel that is full makes very little noise when moved. His attractiveness is not a loud neon sign demanding attention. It is a steady, rhythmic pulse that draws people in through the strength of its consistency. By embodying emotional regulation, decisive initiation, deep listening, and self security, he offers a version of masculinity that is both grounded and aspirational. He is the man who does not need to tell you he is important because his presence alone makes the point. This quiet confidence, rooted in psychological health and a clear sense of self, is the ultimate attractor, proving that in the end, silence is not just the absence of sound, it is the presence of a powerful and well ordered soul. This creates a lasting impression that far outlives the fleeting excitement of a loud entrance, leaving a mark on the hearts and minds of those who are lucky enough to earn a place in his selective, quiet world. Through the lens of psychology and personal experience, we see that the quiet man is not simply a mystery to be solved, but a standard of self possession and integrity that defines the very best of human character.